Alright, hello everyone. Today we'll be looking at your Corp 4th pack Reindeer Honglu. This ID looks actually very solid right now and might be a possible competitor for something like DG Honglu in the sinking team later on, or could be used in the charge count team. Very obviously he can belong in the charge count team. Right, let's start off with what this character most resembles. If you ever played your multi-crack Heathcliff or your multi-crack Faust, they are very similar to this character because they have this one passive here. They gain 1 charge potency every time they eat 10 cumulative charge count, and charge teams basically is just make charge count very high. Use the charge count, gain charge potency buff skill, and then repeat until the end of the game. Right, this character is going to be the exact same formula. Skill 1 is going to be your charge count gain skill. It will scale off your charge potency. So once you get some charge potency going, you will be able to get a bunch of extra charge count here, and that will help you build up charge count so you can dump it, and then so on and so forth. It's a very slow and scaling kind of archetype, the charge team. Right, so skill 1, you can read all this other text yourself. It's not that important. The main one is that this is your charge count gain skill. Then your skill 3 is going to be something that scales off charge potency as well, but also is mainly used for giving you charge count again, similar to your skill 1, because on use gain charge count, and you also gain charge plus X charge count. If you're wondering what this charge plus X means, it's something like this, where you have gain charge potency times 3 charge count for Heathcliff. For your multi-crack Faust, however, multi-crack Faust has a fixed number. She is able to just get a standard +5 on her skill tree. So you have a gain charge potency +5 and a +5 over here. So if it's something like that, that means the skill tree, you just use it purely to gain charge count early on, and then later on when you have more charge potency, your skill tree will help you to give even more charge count and also help to scale the damage of this skill tree over here. This skill tree does have a multiplier where it increases this skill's power times X% damage. So it could be able to actually roll some respectable numbers on this skill tree. Very similar to something like a full stop, right? It might have some really high multipliers on this skill tree here, because you do have deal more damage for charge potency. You also have this multiplier here, and it's based on your final power and your base power and your coin power. And you also have a passive here where if you have high charge potency, you actually deal more damage with your base attack skill. So if all these multipliers are very high, your skill tree could hit some very disgusting levels, even though it's only a 1 coin skill tree, right? Another very cool thing about this character is that his passive also lets him inflict more sinking with base attack skills for every charge potency. So if you are scaling with the charge potency, you're also getting the ability to apply even more sinking potency. And you may look at this character and see, oh, he only has 1 instance of sinking count. He has -4 over here in total, unless you have maybe like a +4 on the sinking count here. But you have to remember Echoes of the Manor exists, and that lets you basically roll a 50-50 every time you inflict sinking or sinking count, and you will be able to get another +1 sinking count. So all of this here could become positive if you are able to roll good rolls on your Echoes of the Manor, and on average this is going to basically be net neutral with your Mind Whip, but your sinking count at the end here might make it even like a +1 or a +2 sinking count ultimately. So this is going to be very solid for just stacking that potency onto enemy with the Echoes of the Manor debuff on them. So this looks very spicy already. Skill 3 also has a nice big nuke of sinking and sinking count, and is only a 1 coin. Skill 1 is sinking potency, and you can use your guard skill here to trigger envy resonance, and you can also use it to gain charge count. Like multi-crack, this thing here gives you like something like 4 charge count 2 times per turn, and for this one you have coin power to increase the defense, and this is so that you can also get your envy resonance for something like maybe this electric streaming ego, where you can get 8 charge count to 1 other ally, and the number of affected allies grows by your envy resonance -2. So this can help you to fuel this AoE so that everyone can get a lot of charge count. Very good for the charge count team. Or you can just use this character as a one-off in the sinking team and purely just fire off this skill 2 over here. I just wonder what are the numbers on this character to charge him up. Do you need to use like maybe 2 skill 1s and then 1 defense skill in order to get 1 skill 2 full power? Or do you need to use like skill 3 plus 1 skill 1 and then you activate full power? We have to see the rotation and how much numbers it actually gives us afterwards, because Honglu doesn't have an ego that feeds him charge count himself. He needs other people to feed him the charge count, or he needs to do it very slowly by himself. Alright, so the Mind Whip time. What is the Mind Whip going to do here? We saw in the trailer it does have some AoE. The AoE part here right, is that an X to Y charge count. You will trigger all of this text down here. You will sacrifice some sinking potency onto yourself, and you will then raise it to Z. And then that Z number is probably going to be the one you use to eat all of this charge count to gain coin power. If you look at multi-crack, you basically at 5 to 9, you will eat you will basically eat all of this as HP, and then you will raise it. So you sacrifice HP. For Honglu, you just gain sinking, and that could be quite cool. After that, you fire off your Mind Whip, and the Mind Whip gains indiscriminate unfocused volley and gains additional attack weight. The indiscriminate part means that you can hit your ally, just like in the video, you can hit your reindeer Ishmael as well as the enemy at the same time. Unfocused volley is basically the Solemn Lament Gregor targeting, right? Solemn Lament Gregor, that ego, wants you to basically, the first coin hit the main target, and then all subsequent coins will randomly hit other targets. And because it's indiscriminate, it can hit all of your other allies as well. So that means that this is way better if there's only one enemy target to hit. And in order to ensure that you only hit one enemy, you also need to get rid of indiscriminate. Otherwise, you're just going to hit your allies more often than you hit the enemy if there's only one enemy left. And then to do that, you need to have a W plus charge potency to remove the indiscriminate, which means that if you want to maybe like shotgun this Mind Whip onto the enemies only, you need to make sure you have at least this amount of charge potency first. Then you have to make sure you have this amount of charge count, and then you fire the skill 2 off onto the enemies, right? So that's how this thing actually works. You want to make sure that you have enough charge potency first, then you use this. Otherwise, the damage will go absolutely nuts, right? What happens is that one coin hit your ally, another coin hit your ally, another coin hit the enemy, and then the main coin hit the enemy. You have one coin split into 4 different people. It's not going to do anything at all. If you at least remove the indiscriminate and there's maybe like 1 or 2 enemies on the field, then this Mind Whip is very likely just going to hit that one enemy, or maybe split itself into 2-2 onto 2 enemies. It's still decent, right? Because it does apply sinking onto the enemies. At least you're not applying sinking onto your own allies, which is going to be very, very annoying. So this Mind Whip is going to be solid, but only after you have the W plus charge. But if you don't want to trigger this area over here, simply have enough charge count to trigger this part over here. Because what happens is that if you do have 10 charge count, you skip this part entirely. You don't even care about this part. You just skip to this section over here. So what happens is that this part here is an option for you. You don't actually need to trigger this part at all. All you need to do is make sure you have enough charge count to gain coin power, and then you skip all of this. You do not get an AoE Mind Whip, you only get a single target Mind Whip, and then you also eat all of the remaining charge count, and you consume that remaining charge count to deal more damage. So basically your Mind Whip now becomes a full mag dump of whatever charge count you have inside of you, and after that you reset back to 0. So you need to build up a bunch of charge count, then dump it all with the skill 2, and repeat and repeat and repeat. But once you have enough charge potency, you can feel free to dump it earlier, because you can just trade sinking potency onto yourself for a little bit of extra charge count, and that will be very, very good later on. So this character, the early stages is very, very slow. You just want to use skill 1, skill 3, and then make sure you have enough, then you use your skill 2 to go and dump it at this stage over here. And then as we go on, we get more lenient with our requirement. All we need to do is hit a certain amount, this X to Y here, and then we can dump it already. And then we'll be able to do a shotgun, and if there's only one enemy left, then this is basically the same as using it at this part over here, because there's only one enemy, which means that we will only be able to just shoot that one enemy. So unfocused volley doesn't matter, and indiscriminate is already gone at that point because we have enough charge potency. And that is how you have to control this Mind Whip. Requires a bit of brain power, but once you really understand that as long as you hit this number, you're good, and as long as you hit this number and you have this charge potency, then you're good. That's all you need to know about this skill 2 over here. Not really very complicated, and this part over here gives me a lot of hope for this ID over here. You may question that this character does not have any gloom in its kit, but you also have to remember that this is Honglu. Honglu does have Land of Illusion, and if you're running a sinking team, you're going to have a lot of Gloom generation. So if you need to force Gloom Resonance somehow, Land of Illusion is not a bad idea at all in order to force a Gloom Resonance. Alright, so this character looks pretty decent. I would wait for all of the numbers to come out first before I say any more. I think that this character could be a decent replacement for your Dichi Honglu later on, or maybe you don't even want to run Dichi Honglu, then you use your Mola Ishmael instead. That's an option as well. Right. So that's really all I have to say about this Honglu here. Looks very spicy. If you support him with your something like multi-crack Heathcliff, or you support him with something like this Electric Screaming Mersault to feed him more charge count, he can scale faster and help him to hit his full potential later on. But this sinking part over here will help by, I guess, besides controlling some enemies or dealing more gloom damage to abnormalities and so on and so forth. Looks pretty okay, not super power crapped or anything. It's just a solid unit that you can use for charge or use for your sinking team later on. Alright, so that's going to be it, I think, for this video. If I miss anything, feel free to let me know, and I shall see you guys next time. Bye bye.